Hello, dobrodošli, and welcome back, everybody, to the European Big Data Value Forum. And we will continue with a very interesting panel. So I'm joined again by Mr. Thomas Hahn, the president of the Big Data Value Association. Thomas is already sitting here a few steps away from me. Safety distance, very, very important, even on an online event, isn't it so, Thomas? It was a very good start today with very, very interesting guests. And they were really having opening remarks. So it's really very important to work together from politics, research and the industry when we talk about artificial intelligence.
Yes, I think the opening was really good. We have here from the views from politics. Your minister was here, or one of your ministers was here, explaining also the importance of, computing, supercomputing, AI, to make some machine learning on the machine. Also really explaining the complete stack. And we have two industry views. One regarding more from the automation side, the other one for the IT side, which I think give a good flavor what is needed, what is today possible, and of course what is the next steps. Then we have here a member of the European Parliament, giving also the perspective from European topic regarding also what is ongoing with the Data AI Act, with the Data Governance Act, and so on, giving also a perspective from outside view. And, at the end, also we get, I think, a nice overview also coming from manufacturing industry. Always a pity, I speak too much maybe about manufacturing, but giving also an overview what is possible with data, with AI, to take care also for kids and older people. So, and this was really good to have this flavor. And I think we are well prepared for the session now.
Yes. Let's see. For the recap a little bit for those who might have missed the beginning of our event today. And I already see, smiling faces connecting. For the next panel, some nice high-tech headphones as well. And so all our guests are ready for the panel ahead of us. Thomas, what will be in focus?
The focus is today about digital transformation. The theme of the event is digital transformation powered by data and AI, and we focus today in the panel about digital transformation. So really looking what we have to do with the ecosystem, how we include startups, small, medium-sized enterprises, different flavors on this. We look about what is, the business needs, business impact. We're looking at how initiatives in the European or regional context can participate. I think this is a topic really to speak about what we have to do with digital transformation, with the different views, government, industry, and asset regarding ecosystem, businesses and alliances, which we are all joining together and driving together forward.
Now it's really time to greet your guests, so the stage is yours.
I take the stairs, and when I'm somehow, you see here some walls between us, maybe some at least I have somehow difficult somehow to hear you, but nevertheless we will handle this. But nevertheless, it's a situation like today. So many thanks in participating this panel, and I think we have a very good overview, and also thanks because to Ivo, especially because I know you are jumping in on a very short notice, and many thanks. But I know this what you are doing, what the Commission is doing to promote this. Many thanks. Then we have, others, but I will come later to this. I will give some kind of intro about, digital transformation or digital and sustainable transformation. Let's say it's all of us what we have to achieve. We have in the morning heard also about impact to businesses, but also to society. We know that this digital transformation, I always like to say, it can be used to improve existing processes, but we can use it also to create new businesses, new opportunities, new challenges, or no positive impact to us. And I learned also in the morning from the minister from Slovenia that also during the presidency, artificial intelligence data economy was one of the topics, let's say, addressed during this Slovenian presidency. And as you know, the European Big Data Value Forum is always, it's a stage or it's a country. A pity is that we are not seeing us everybody live, but nevertheless, in the country who has the presidency. And when I'm looking to Ivo, also the Commission launched, let's say, some kind of project, but I'm sure we'll speak later about this when I'm speaking about maybe I make something wrong, but you are the expert in this, but also launching the digital decade and what we have to do for the economy and society in this decade, let's say until 2030. We know also, there's also this COVID recovery fund, and now the two colleagues from the Slovenian government are joining me on stage. I will introduce you later about what is ongoing with the recovery fund, what is the plan with the 20% digitalization investment, and we can dig in with the experts in do this. The question is, why is this so important? I think it's obvious for everybody. Today, and maybe it's not good that we are seeing us in face-to-face, but it is possible because we have some kind of digitalization, and the people knowing or have been on the last 1.5 years knowing how these tools are also transforming and giving us better possibility to interact. Also in our private life. We know this, but we also seen what are the room for improvements, what we can do this. This is one aspect. The other aspect is, give you another example, and as I said, apologies for my manufacturing examples always. When you're looking today in the production of the vaccine, ramping up in a less than 5 months and vaccine production from scratch. And this is highly regulated. You have to look. It's not possible when you have not the possibility to simulate, to calculate the production and so on. Meaning that's the reason why we need this. And last but not least, I think digitalization will be also essential to target together, let's say, the challenges which we have ahead of us. Sustainability, CO2 footprint, and circular economy. Sophie von Artus have done a good presentation in the morning about what needed. So I think there was really some kind. Meaning we have a lot to do together, and we can do this together. This is for me also the second topic, and it's absolute a must that we have to address it together, and because collaboration is key in this area. So meaning, coming back to the theme of our conference, data and AI, let's say, one of the elements. I think this was from the Mia Petra from the parliament mentioned. The one is the oil, the other is somehow the engine, or where some kind of the results are coming out. She phrased it in this way. Completely correct, or fuel, not oil, fuel, to have the fuel for the engine. And also industry and everybody is from us defining the strategy, how doing this. And that's the reason why we have this mixed panel. I look to my left side, we have Nina from the Slovenian government, and we have Aleš, I hope I pronounce you correctly. Thanks a lot. You give me a signal that it was correct. So now going to the virtual room, I see at least Juha. Hello again, Juha. We have Marina Bill, ABB, and president of the AI Data and Robotics Association, because we have this AI Data and Robotics association, a partnership launched. Marina will take care a little bit about what is ongoing this, as we met her last Monday, yesterday, so to say, in a call regarding this. We have Stefanie Lindstedt. I think I've seen her before from the Now Center from Austria, let's say close by, I imagine just across the mountain. We have Tero from Silo AI, which also, hi Tero, nice to meet you again, or nice to meet you all again. We have Tero here in the call, coming also, giving some perspective, because he created as a entrepreneur something around AI, and we are really keen to hear maybe what are his positive things or what are the obstacles, topics he mentioned where we can discuss about how we maybe do this and improve this in the future better. So this roughly is the panel structure, and to be honest, I tell it up front, I'm not a professional moderator. Excuse when I'm making something wrong, but you can always jump in and asking questions, but nevertheless the structure of the panel will be a little bit straight ahead. We will have some kind of intro speeches from your side, also to bring in some kind of perspective inside. And let's say, as said in the beginning, we're speaking a little bit, touching about ecosystem, business, and alliances, and feel free to ask. I have also here a system when somebody is asking via the network. I get also from the people who are hearing us and seeing us some questions. I will get also here a signal that we are, let's say, being informed when some burning questions are coming out from our people who are hearing us. So many thanks. And now I want to hand over to Ivo, maybe bringing a little bit of perspective from the Commission, also to speak about the project structure. Also, maybe speaking about, I forgot to mention this, but this, I'm an absolute fan to have this holistic view from the storage and calculation of data. Vega project, for example, or Vega supercomputing, the infrastructure, where we're speaking maybe also later about GaiaX, data spaces, to get value out of the data with the BDVA, AI data robotics partnership, but also, partners like Lea, Alice, and EuroAI come into the umbrella, and then application in the vertical. So, Ivo, feel free and give me some kind of insight from the Commission, and many, many thanks.
Yes, thanks, Thomas, and good morning to everyone. I'm very happy to be here. Now, everything these days starts with the pandemic, so that's where I will start also. Its impact on digital. The pandemic has really accelerated the digital transformation. You've said it, Thomas. This hybrid meeting is actually an example of that. At the same time, it also increases digital divides, and it also exposes vulnerabilities of our digital space. So we see that Europe is dependent on other regions for key digital technologies and capacities, like artificial intelligence, big data, cloud, to name just a few. For example, 90% of the data, the EU data today, is managed by US companies. European cloud providers have only 16% of the European cloud market, while they had 26% 3 years ago. So we need to act urgently to address the above. Now, the EU's path to the digital decade, that was published 2 months ago, and it contains our vision of how to get there. And our vision is to empower people, to empower businesses, to seize a human-centered, resilient, sustainable, and prosperous digital future in a global context. That's quite a lot of words together. Now, the program includes quite ambitious digital targets to be reached by 2030. Where do we want to get by 2030? And these targets have been organized around 4 cardinal points of a digital compass, showing the way. It's skills, infrastructures, and then there is the digital transformation of, on the one hand, businesses, and on the other hand, the public sector. Now, let's focus on some examples that are really relevant for today's discussion. By 2030, we want at least 75% of European enterprises to take up cloud computing services, big data, and artificial intelligence. And more than 90% of European SMEs should reach at least a basic level of digital intensity. Now, then about data. You all have heard about the European Strategy for Data, I hope. It responded to political calls to strengthen Europe's positions globally by making better use of data-driven innovation. There are huge opportunities there, but we have to act now to make things happen. So the Commission is putting in place a solid regulatory framework to boost the emergence of a real European data market that will allow for more and easy data sharing while guaranteeing, of course, the rights of data holders. Now, you're probably aware of some of the elements of this approach from the proposed Data Governance Act. Slovenian presidency has worked enormously on that, and there will be a trilogue meeting tonight on the Data Governance Act. Well, the regulation on the free flow of non-personal data was there before, and of course, we're also working on a Data Act, which is going to ensure fair allocation of data value among the actors involved in the creation of data, in the data economy in general. So it will clarify who can have access to which data and under which circumstances use the data. Now, beyond regulation, one of our key initiatives, you mentioned it, Thomas, is the creation of common European data spaces in strategic industrial areas or areas of public interest, from manufacturing and agriculture to health and mobility and skills. Now, these common European data spaces will bring together the relevant governance structures with infrastructures. And we really need these to create a genuine single market for data. Now, for that, we also need edge and cloud infrastructures and services that will allow businesses to use the data. We need supercomputing capabilities to develop and produce better products and services without having to invest in in-house infrastructure. For the digital decade, we have set a very concrete target to deploy 10,000 climate neutral, highly secure edge nodes in the EU by 2030. Now, there are project calls under the Digital Europe program that are open to co-finance the deployment of cloud and edge infrastructures and devices. Now, to deliver on these targets, we need to cooperate. We need to create synergies with private initiatives as done under the European Alliance for Industrial Cloud Edge, Data Edge and Cloud. Now, finally, concerning artificial intelligence, the digital decade target is a wake-up call for AI, as AI is a key factor for competitiveness in the coming years. So by 2030, we want 3 out of 4 European enterprises to use cloud computing services, big data, and AI from respectively around 24% we have today. So from this perspective, it's even clearer why the recently proposed AI Act is so important. It's not just for safety and for protecting fundamental rights, but also because it will foster trust and legal certainty. And this is going to create investment possibilities in AI. So we're also setting up AI testing and experimentation facilities in many member states to support bringing innovative solutions to the market with a focus on high impact sectors. Now, we also plan to extend the European Digital Innovation Hubs with a minimum of 1 hub per member state, focusing on providing support services to SMEs on AI. Now, our commitment to invest in your fields is really significant. Through Horizon Europe, through the digital program, through CEF Digital, we plan to further develop AI, big data, edge, cloud, and supercomputing technologies and infrastructures. And on top of that, there is the Resilience and Recovery Facility that will provide further possibilities for massive investments in the member states in your fields. And I would like to praise the big data value partnerships for your joint achievements in Horizon 2020. You've helped leverage industry investments of around 6 times the EU investments and mobilize a very active and dynamic community of stakeholders across industry sectors and technology domains. Now, working together and breaking the technology silos is the right way to go. Now we need to ensure that the AI, data, and robotics partnership can effectively bring all the actors together and attract a large number of European technology innovators to join and create the necessary critical mass. So I would like to finish these introductory remarks by linking digital transition to our second big goal, which is the green transition. I'm very pleased to note that we have a shared vision with the Slovenian presidency, namely that green and digital transition will create jobs, strengthen the resilience of our societies, and ensure the health of our environment. And in this context, AI in connection with big data is one of the key technologies of the future. Thank you very much.
So many thanks, Ivo, for this intervention, introduction, also explaining a little bit what is the environment, the framework behind from the European Commission, and let's say also with a link to the regional activities. Maybe only to address three topics. First of all, many thanks. The big data PPP, you're right, factor 6, meaning in words 2.4 billion of private investment mobilized in this area, roughly. I have to look in the number or to check with my secretary if I announced the right number, but it's roughly the altitude plus minus. Second issue is you mentioned also the vulnerability, and is always a little bit about. I was some weeks ago at a huge machine tool conference in Milano, and there was a topic about how can I be sure what is happening with my data? How can I trust in the data infrastructure? What can we do? We use maybe less than 20% of available data today for improvement or to new business opportunity. Meaning this topic regarding this one is here really keen, which Ivo, you mentioned regarding vulnerability. You mentioned also the important project of European interest, cloud and edge. And you are right. We are looking also carefully how we can make it's the rollout across the different not only entities or companies, small, big, starting one, existing one, and looking at how we can do this. But not to speak more, I would really hand over a little bit to Tero. Welcome, Tero. I think you will present us some slides. That's the reason, by the way, I have to have some kind of order. Also, apologies, Nina, said I switched the order, but I know that the colleagues had prepared the slide in also the back office. So, Tero, so what is you? Give us some impression from your side about Silo AI and, how is this happening? And very interesting what you are telling us. Tero, so what's
Thank you. Thank you. My pleasure, and thank you for the opportunity. So I will start by highlighting that where from what perspective I'm coming from. So personally, I have a background from the large corporations, but in the recent years, I've been very much focused on the Silo AI, which is maybe we can call it the scale up. It's the largest private AI lab in the Nordics, with 200 AI experts from machine learning, NLP, computer vision, and 100 out of those 100 plus of our experts have PhDs. So it's highly educated workforce. Also, I think collaboration was mentioned, that we are collaborating we talk about this extended network with universities and other research labs in order to make sure that we are always working on the cutting edge technologies. And so far, we have covered more than 150 AI projects delivered to production. And the first message there is that the AI is coming everywhere. We have seen it in smart devices, we have seen it in smart cities, we have seen it in smart vehicles. So no company can say that AI doesn't touch us. And in that sense, whether you are a startup, scale up, or corporation, we need to take this seriously. The second one is that this vision, AI for people, it's a philosophical approach that we need to think about the AI from the human-centric point of view, that basically it's not about replacing humans in the work. Of course, automation will happen, but it's to make the work more meaningful. And also, I think AI ethics was already mentioned by Uwe, and data privacy and other aspects, we need to make sure that those are considered. Then we are talking about the transformation. I think the key element in the business transformation with AI is the connection to platforms. And I just put up my recent book on the platform strategy, which is basically touch upon how do you, with the platforms and AI combined, you are creating a transformation of businesses. And we have seen that the most of the today's successful companies or the world's largest companies are actually platform companies, which are based on the network effect. So we need to make sure that every participant in the platform is adding more data, which we can use for AI to learn from it, and in this way amplify the transformation. In the startup and scale-up world, I can highlight two quite interesting companies where we are seeing this manifesting itself. Wolt is based out of Finland. It was recently acquired, or it made an $8 billion deal with DoorDash from the US. This is a delivery company that started focusing on a food delivery, but it is optimizing its total delivery network, the couriers and restaurants, with help of the AI, building a new kind of organizational structure. And the key with the startups is that, and any company applying AI, is that how can you actually learn faster than the incumbents to disrupt them? And Wolt is a good example, and operating in a very large number of European countries. The second example I wanted to mention is that highlighting just the transformation and power of AI is a startup called Betolar, which is it's making a cement-free concrete. Cement is responsible for 7% of world's CO2 emissions, and cement-free concrete is a great case for a green transition and green transformation. So this company is actually using AI to optimize the recipe where you mix geopolymers with help of AI. You are taking aggregates like sand, you are taking slag from industrial side stream and mixing that with chemicals and water, and that creates a concrete which you can use. And again, here the AI plays a central role. So we can see that the AI is transforming all kinds of companies and making a big impact. The second point I wanted to make here, beyond the platform scale, is that we see very often that the AI discussions are focused around the use cases and algorithms, but we need to think about it from the infrastructure point of view, that how do you create scale from the start? And here we have the buzzword called MLOps, which is not just IT operations for AI. It's much larger concept where you are thinking about your algorithms, data, different type of platforms. Cloud is important, but this is not only a cloud game. We are seeing that the emerging other platforms like Edge was mentioned, but also very restricted computing environment when you implement AI in sensors and other parts. So basically having a mindset that fast experimentation is required, but then you need to target for scale when it comes to your operations, and building it from the start is very important. And then also managing the uncertainty, because AI is never ready. It's constantly evolving and it will make mistakes. And you need to be prepared that the nonlinear systems will make mistakes as you go by, and be prepared for that. So it's a new type of the mindset that is required to make sure that you can scale AI in the right way and manage it in a various environments which we are seeing to emerge. We started from the cloud, we are moving to edge, but we see more and more sort of the applications emerging in a restricted computing environment where you could be a sensor that runs the AI locally. It would be a camera that, because of the privacy reasons, everything is operated locally and you don't transfer the data outside of that environment, and it still needs to operate in complex AI algorithms. To finish my short talk, I wanted to highlight a best practice that comes from Finland, but it could be extended well beyond, and it is collaborating across the Europe. This is a Finnish AI accelerator that was established to help startups and scale-ups, but also established companies, corporations, to make sure that they start their AI transformation. It provides basic AI trainings of organization of all sides, but it also have this kind of 6 months AI accelerator program that have that sort of would need peer support in developing their capabilities, sharing best practices, etc. And we have gotten very good experiences that both from the startup side, where we map the whole landscape of startups, got them together, helping them to accelerate, but also larger corporations that where they are transforming big operations, and they benefit very much about collaborating with other similar companies from different fields, but sharing the same problems when it comes to the getting AI to scale. And Silo, we have done more than 150 projects on into production with AI, and we have seen it that the problems that we see are repeatable. They are very often the same problems for setting up the infrastructure. How do you manage your privacy and ethics for your AI project, etc. And sharing these best practices is very important. That this is a practical way of doing. I will finish my talk here, and looking forward for the panel discussions. And thank you for the organizers. I think it's great that we are collaborating in Europe and sharing the best practices in this conference. Thank you.
So, Tero, many thanks. I know what book I know order at the weekend when I'm back. Your book about platform strategy, you know, but this would be a chat which we have together. You know, I'm also read a book like from Marshall von Arnstein about platform ecosystems, how we are doing this, what are the different mechanisms, how we can learn, how we have to change our businesses, partnerships, networks, openness. Only to mention a few of the topics, but very keen. And at least I got immediately a trigger what I have to order now. Many thanks to you, and not to have too much time in the discussion, because we have later also some kind of interesting questions. I would now hand over to Marina. Marina is on the one side with ABB in the management robotics business, but on the other side also active in the AI data and robotics partnership. So I hand over directly to you, Marina, and nice to see you again. Like mentioned before, our last talk was yesterday. So cooperation.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Thomas. No, I'm very happy to be here. So thank you for inviting me to this event. I think it's extremely important in times like this, where things are changing so quickly, that we find ways to keep the dialogue open, even if we cannot meet as we would like to, that we make sure that we, in all means we can, keep the discussion and dialogue open. So thank you very much for the invitation, and also for the event as such. I would like to share with you a little bit about the background to ADRA and what ADRA brings into this big picture. But before doing so, I thought I'll go through some of the mega trends that are the driving factors that really leads to that we have an organization like ADRA today. So, just share the screen, and here we go. Oh, you can see the screen, yeah? So if we look a little bit upon the megatrends that is really driving both demands and forming a lot of the industry in the automation area, we could look upon mainly 5 megatrends. And the first one is the individualized consumer. And to make it very easy, that's actually all of us, you and me. We have started to become very particular about how we want things. We want things personalized. If we order a new car, we want a long list of things, how it should look like. I can tell you nowadays it's very hard to throw any kind of birthday party for a child without having their names printed on the little candies that they have there. And we're reaching the holiday season now, and it's kind of the standard things to have a customized Christmas card. This gives a lot of opportunities, but we should also recognize that the way that most production facilities were set up was not to go down to this batch size one and having this flexibility. So it is a big challenge on how to handle this individualized consumer. The second one is the labor shortage. And this is a global problem that is today. It's very hard for certain skills to really find the people to do the work. And on top of this, we're also seeing globally that the people today are refusing to do any kind of dirty, dull, and dangerous work, rightly so. Then we have the digitalization, with all the opportunities that digitalization leads to, and it has made for all of us our life easier. I mean, we are dressed with it in everything we do nowadays. And I think we can all agree upon that data has become the new iron ore, and it really has all the possibilities of things we can dream up with. The fourth one is the uncertainty. And a few years ago, we would have referred to uncertainty as natural disasters or trade wars and the like. Looking into it now, the uncertainty is also the situation we're in now, the pandemic, and what that means in discussions of reshoring, how to keep mission-critical production up, even if people cannot be close or even be in factories and the like. And in the middle of this, we have the sustainability. Really the most important things for us to make sure that we treat the resources on this earth in a very responsible way. And with that, making sure that we don't have more waste than necessary. And the plastic waste is an issue of itself. But let me give you another example. Today on a construction site, when something is being built, at least 25% of what's being transported to that is going to be waste. These are mega trends that has been driving the automation business for years, and nothing new actually came out of COVID, but what happened was an acceleration of these trends, a really strong acceleration of all of them. And if we look upon it, especially from a European point of view, we can see that especially the individualized consumer is actually also willing to pay more for having things personalized. With the demographics we're having in Europe, the labor shortage is becoming even more of an issue. Sustainability has been on the top of the agenda for a long time all over the continent. So having these both possibilities, but also challenges, what does that lead to? Well, in one way, we have the demands, the demand of what the market is requiring. And productivity and quality has been there since a long time and is still top of the agenda. But what we see coming up now as really an important part of it is, of course, the flexibility and simplicity. In order to be able to go down to this batch size one, we need a really flexible way of producing things. And it needs to be simple. Not everybody can have a PhD in AI or in robot programming if we want to reach new geographies, new customer segments, and also, very important, a lot of the SMEs. So how do we respond to these demands and the challenges? Well, that's really to take the opportunity to work together in ecosystem and also to have the cross-fertilization of technologies. And that's why we see AI, big data, and robotics coming together. And that is a little bit of the background to why we now have the organization of ADRA. ADRA is a co-program partnership with Horizon Europe. It's on the public side, the European Commission, and on the private side, we then have ADRA. The MOU was signed this summer, and I hope that many of you on this call actually took part of the event that we had last week only, where we really launched it and started to invite memberships to this. The idea is to come up with about 1.3 billion each from the public and the private side. And it is a joint initiative of the 5 associations, the E-Robotics, then the 3 AI, EuroAI, Claire and Alice, and then the big data, of course, that is here. So stop sharing so I can see you all again. So I think we're living in a very exciting times. And when having all these things coming together, we can really respond to the big challenges, but also the potentials that is out on the market today. So looking forward also to the panel discussion, and I'll hand over back to you, Thomas.
Many, many thanks, Marina, giving this insights and also the trends, mega trends, and so on. And you are absolutely right. These are topics where we can collaborate and create something, impact to all of us. Let's phrase this, what we can do and which we will all achieve together. Many thanks in touching this. Yes, you're absolutely right with the megatrends, with the productivity, but now we're on the stage regarding flexibility. Simplicity, I think, is a good topic, especially in the AI area, because you are right. That not every time you have to have a PhD or we have to people having a PhD. By the way, I have got several questions in the meantime from the panel. So also from the auditorium. Let's see how we handle this. But now I want to switch now to Slovenia, starting with Aleš. Again, hopefully pronounced correctly. And speak a little bit about the country-specific topics. I think the mic is working, I hope.
It's working?
I think the mic is... We have some short topic. It's working. Perfect. Okay, so you see here also, we have this topics between us, but it's needed. Okay, thanks, Aleš.
Well, thank you, Thomas. First of all, I would like to welcome you on behalf of Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Slovenia. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for organizing this interesting, of course, discussion. And of course, just give me a couple of minutes to present also the situation in Slovenia, especially, of course, in this business area. Since I'm coming from the businesses, we set 3 years ago in the chamber quite bold goals for Slovenia. You must know that Slovenia is relatively small, but with a long tradition, with a strong tradition, especially from the industry. And that's why we set these goals for 2025 to get around 60,000 value added for employee euros. Of course, then achieving 50 billion of export from our economy. And of course, also an average gross wage of 2,300 euros. Okay, these are the numbers, the figures that we set, quite high. And the question is then what we have to do in order to get there. Of course, as we heard already today, we all agree that digital transformation along with the green transformations are the key players, are the key changers. And this is also something that our industries, that our companies realizes and know that they will have to invest a lot, not only financially speaking, but also knowledges, connections, networking. All this is something that, of course, we need. Now, what we can do in Slovenia, how to form some kind of ecosystem to help the companies to realize where the, let's say, potential lies, where the opportunity are. First of all, I think that in Slovenia we already have a couple of very strong companies that working very strong, and with the big data and with artificial intelligence, also robotics. All those concepts are already, let's say, on the agenda of some big companies in Slovenia. Again, I'm referring this to the industry companies. And let me give an example of one company that have a very strong team of researchers from different spheres, and they have more than 10 Doctor of Sciences forming altogether, let's say, an hub or ecosystem in the companies working on those new concepts. And of course, they started with developing solutions from the perspective, of course, of artificial intelligence, of the data procedures, of the also robotics, because they also have some human robots there. But they already overcome their own needs, and now they are working also for others, especially now in Slovenia, let's say middle companies, also some smaller companies, offering them their solutions. Of course, personalized solutions also to them to join this wave of, let's say, digital transformation that we are on. This is one example. Now, they started, as I said, with this team, and this team worked very closely with some faculties in Slovenia. They are still working very close with some universities, with some institute, like Institute Josef Stefan, and so on. What I want to say, we already have some kind of micro eco hubs or ecosystems, which is very important. They didn't wait for the government. They didn't wait for the European Commission. They saw a need to form a micro ecosystems, and they did it. And I must say that I was very surprised knowing that there are really a lot of knowledge, a lot of or solutions which could be applied not only in industry, but also, let's say, on everyday's lives. Because, and this is my second point that I would like to stress, and going now for the national Slovenian perspective to the European perspective, discussing and talking about some kind of society 5.0. The concept that was developed in Japan, this is, of course, we already heard this term today, people-oriented technologies, and of course, this is what we are doing for better living. And we know that Europe in the last decades lost the momentum and opportunities to be in front, let's say, or leader, especially when we're talking about platforms. Now, we know that practically no European platforms are in this, let's say, social lives, like, of course, Twitter, Facebook, and they're all coming out of the Europe. The similar is with the platforms for, let's say, online shopping. Again, we don't have any real competitors from the European Union here. There are some, but not globally, let's say, leaders. And this is something that we should not allow in the future. And where I'm standing from, I think that the next very important milestone will be when all those concepts that we are talking today, big data, IA, robotics also, of course, the Internet of Things, and all others, they will come out of the Industry 4.0 directly to our everyday's life. And this is what I see as a society 5.0, human-oriented society with the help of the new technologies, with the help of data, with the help of IA, and so on. And now, I think it's very important for the European Commission and national governments also to realize this, to sit down and say, look, guys, we have to do something. We have to help our European companies to work on these solutions, to work on the to set the path for this concept going from the industry also to everyday's life. I think this is very important for Europe as such. Of course, again, we have to form ecosystems. I think we will talk about this today. Connecting, looking for the partnerships, helping to establish partnerships between the European companies, because we saw at Finland, for instance, they have very good, I believe, the examples and very good already knowledges, and we have to connect those, let's say, pearls of the European companies and knowledges and experiences in these areas, and to join them to work together on the solutions, how to, let's say, cope with the challenges of this, let's call it like Japanese did Society 5.0. And I see this as a huge opportunity. And the timing, I think is right. Also, the finances of resilience and recovery are maybe entitled to this, and this is good opportunity. So this would be my message. Firstly, what we see in Slovenia, we already some kind of, if we discuss about the eco systems, we already have some kind of on the micro level. And we have an opportunity in Europe to build, let's say, the European ecosystem in order to let's say, foster these technologies also not only in the industry, but from the industry to everyday's life. Because this is not the question if, but is the question when. And this will happen, believe me.
Aleš, many thanks. Two quick comments. maybe known, I'm also in the platform industry 4.0 active in Germany and Europe. And regarding this ecosystem which existing, our first move was just to create a map where everybody can sign in and saying what you have. And to be honest, this gives us some kind of push because knowing it. Other example is, but we have later in the afternoon panel about this, about the Data Space Business Alliance. We are together from BDWA with GaiaX, with Fiverr and IDSA. Also to know, and Ivo mentioned the hubs, also to know where are points of knowledge of helps. I have avoided now the word hubs. Same issue, one of the first topic to know what we know. So let's phrase it in this what we have to do. And maybe later, because we get really a lot of comments, so now I'll go straight across the mountain to Stephanie and hand over to you and look in parallel what the question we get an insight. And then I have to look how we moderate this. Stephanie.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Well, first of all, Thomas, thank you very much for the invitation to be here today. Yeah, very sad that we cannot be together like in the previous DVFs, which we experienced together. So maybe I also want to shortly say my background is in computer science. I studied in Germany, did my PhD in the US, worked with a large automotive company in Germany again, did a startup in the US, and now I'm in Austria, heading a big data and AI knowledge transfer and research organization in Graz. And when I look at the digital transformation, I think we should really put this transformation label in front. Albert Einstein said, the head is round so that thoughts can change directions. And I think we need to really have people change the directions of their thoughts. And the transformation is really this challenge. And this challenge is especially for the heads of the CEOs and top management, because they have to drive this transformation forward for their organizations and within their larger business ecosystems. And I sometimes think this is not clear enough when we talk about transformation. So I really think we should talk about the radical shift, so the disruption, because that makes it much more clear that people have to really look into it and act. And so when I heard these talks before, so we mainly talk about the transformations which we are experiencing on the level of data, technology, and ecology so far. But I think we have to put it also in the perspective that there is a transformation in terms of power shift to Asia, and a transformation of the financial markets towards a capital market. So these things we cannot ignore, or we have to take into account, even when we come from technology, as I do myself. So I think there are quite a lot of really great initiatives on EU level, on such platforms such as AI for EU or EU Hubs for Data, bring services, AI services and data tools potentially to all the SMEs in Europe. We build infrastructures such as GaiaX and the European data spaces on top. So what I see in my work environment in the regions is it will be really critical to bring all these developments to the SMEs. And an SME does not need either big data or HPC or AI, but it really needs the whole spectrum. And so we need to help these local leaders find solutions for their own businesses and a way to interact then with the European players. As Ivo already discussed beforehand, so there are now these funding schemes, the digital innovation hubs and the European digital innovation hubs. These are great starting points. So the No Center, where I work for, we are an iSpace in Gold, we are an DIH, we are hopefully soon an ADH. So these are all, I think, very important aspects in order to fund test before invest, experimentations, and regulatory sandboxes. However, what makes me vary a little bit is that many of these EU platforms are based on non-European cloud in parentheses infrastructures, and so we're building our whole new ideas again based on a basis where we're not so sure how stable this will be in the future. And this is why, for example, here in Styria, we have started an initiative called Ideas, which first of all cuts across all these different, or at least many of those different EU initiatives. So involves HPC, big data, European open science, cloud, AI, and cybersecurity. And packaging such services and tools which come out of these individual initiatives with local training, local infrastructures, and local brains to help the SMEs to make the most of them. And that means that we actually were using local infrastructures, local little smaller cloud infrastructures to offer different kind of platform services, security services, local HPC offerings to SMEs, and augment them with trainings on the one hand for the SMEs themselves, but also for building more and more experts who can actually then take over or help in the development of the individual companies. And by doing this, we learn more and more about the challenges they face, and hopefully this will then feed back into our European initiatives and into research. In order to now really put Europe on the map and make us a technology leader and not just a consumer of all the technology which comes out there, so I think we need, even though we already have a lot of funding, I think we need more funding for basic research in computer science, and a really broad computer science, because in order to get to the point of having real machine learning ops, as discussed before, we need everything from data management, data pipeline cleaning, AI, human-centric approaches, and so forth. So we cannot really just focus it on one part of computer science, and we need to see that we are actually the generators of the next generation of AI and data technologies which come out. I mean, now we talk all about platforms, but platforms are already kind of older concept, and maybe there are already newer ways of doing things. Another thing which is very close to my heart is that then when we have those technologies, we really need to develop them into startups and companies. And I think this is something where Europe historically has not been that good. I'm just spearheading an initiative here, which we call the Spinoff Factory, where we are trying to establish a organizational structure which allows research organizations such as the No Center to systematically spin off different kinds of technologies out of the university and research system, which typically is quite well strongly regulated, and where it's really hard to get IPR out and fast out to really get in touch with investors. And I think this is another of the open topics we need to talk about. Where do we get more capital for such endeavors? Thank you very much.
So, Stephanie, many thanks. I would postpone my question to you because there's one in the chat also regarding disruption. You mentioned the word disruption at the beginning. We got some critical, but postpone this and would just overhand to Nina and make an additional topic, and then we're going over to the questions. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Oh, it's working. Okay.
Okay. Thank you for all that interesting presentations today. I have to say that in Slovenia we started quite intensive talk and policy orientation supporting within in 2016, when we had the first conference. It was Slovenia in Fourth Industrial Revolution. And Aleš was at that time state secretary at our ministry, so we did some introductory activities even then. After that, we stronger supported that industrial transformation and digital transformation in 2018 when we published one call for projects. It was demo pilot projects, and it was the first call Europe-wide that was requesting to use advanced technologies. And I have to say that we were very surprised that from, 73 million euro we received for 75 or 73% of projects that would use AI, and 64% of blockchain. And after that, we really started to develop this whole ecosystem and to support the technologies and to support the projects that were asking for more advanced technologies. And then the COVID happened. And we received next generation EU funding, so recovery and resilience. And within that program, we put a lot of efforts, not only to achieve that 20% of digital targets, not only to achieve the 37% of green, but the whole concept of digital transformation was planned into in that RRF. And what is here important? There are many activities that we are approaching here within in the last 2-3 years, for example, on the state level. First, this is what we are developing at the ministry level and on the state level. We also established that Council for Digital Transformation, and we have a Minister for Digital Transformation now, recently announced. What we wanted to achieve with that RRF funding. First, we realized that the companies, traditional companies that have quite legacy systems need to be transformed. They need to be transformed because of to achieve higher competitiveness, higher productivity, and efficiency. The second thing that we realized that we have prevailing industrial share of companies, so large companies, industrial companies that need to, that are working on the capacity or over capacity, and with digital transformation we would enable them to access to market and to increase their capacities. The third thing is that we realized that also IT companies, existing IT companies, are quite lagging behind and using the existing technologies and are not approaching that emerging advanced digital technologies. And last but not least, SMEs. SMEs are in the heart of digital transformation, but here we need very or properly designed approach how to modernize, how to integrate that digital technologies. We know that we have 99% of SMEs, but we have quite low digital intensity index on SMEs. So our future actions will be to support, to strengthen the environments, to support SMEs, and to increase their digital intensity index. Even during the Corona time and after pandemic, e-trade and e-commerce was quite increasing, but not at that level that it should be to make full digital transformation. The second thing is that apart from focusing on new technologies that we are planning to integrate into the processes, we realized that first, digital Slovenia was also very high on the digital readiness index, that is a global index for measuring digital readiness. And we were in 2018 on the 28 from 141 countries. So it was, and we have really very strong companies and orientation from the state, but we are still not there. We are not among top 10 where we want to come. On the other hand, European Commission is issuing or launching country-specific recommendations, and it was also the orientation from European Commission in 2020 that we should more integrate advanced technologies into our business processes and use the technologies where we are really strong. And it was mentioned robotics, AI, and also blockchain technology. Starting from that, we are building the national strategy now, how to integrate the advanced technologies into business processes. So we are focusing into technologies as such, because we want to develop the companies or support the development of the companies that are developing those technologies. The second thing is that integration into that traditional businesses to make them fit and agile. The third thing is how to support the development and strengthening the supporting environments. We heard today a lot of hubs and so on, but we need to know that first, supporting environment is institutional supporting environment, and this is the state. And funding which is provided by the state or by the European Commission here is very important. And here we are definitely following Digital Europe program, which was adopted recently. We are following Digital Decade, Digital Compass. We foreseen all the technologies that are provided, and also we foreseen at least at the Ministry of Economy, at least two indicators or two measures that are going to be supported. First is infrastructure, and the second is that digital transformation in the economy. Apart from this, we have already existing supporting environments for the SMEs, and they are quite strong. We have startup community in Maribor and Technological Park Ljubljana and ABC Accelerator. So they developed in last year and became a very strong supporting environment for exchanging the knowledge, for exchanging the experiences. But here we need to support the new forms. It was mentioned digital innovation hubs. Also European digital innovation hubs. But we are approaching to the new European proposal of EDICS, what means European Digital Infrastructure Consortiums. And those consortiums, I think that it would be a very strong or very important supporting environment, as we can merge all this knowledge and all the existing representatives of the ecosystems together. We know that during the Portugal presidency, ESNA was established. This is European Startup Nation Alliance. We are going to build the standards for SMEs. Innovative procurement is one of the very important issues that will also support SMEs to access to a market and also to access to finance. Here in Slovenia, we have a bit a problem because we don't have actually developed private financing system, venture capital that would come from private investors. So our next task will be to strengthen that private venture capital support. We have institutional, it is very strong. And I have to say that in 2017, when all this hype around blockchain was
coming up,
done, we first in the history, first time realized 50% investment from institutional investors and 49% investment from ICOs, so private investment capital came into Slovenia. But in any case, we need to focus on private or VC from private investors. We know that the European Investment Fund and the European Investment Bank has dedicated programs for this. And it is also important for the regional dimension. We have now here Austria, we have Croatia, and we need to find out how we can create some kind of financing supporting environment for SMEs going to the digital transformation. And last but not least, maybe just to mention, we are very active in the field of cross-border international or that multi-country projects. It was mentioned Gaia-X. Yes, we became a member or associate of Gaia-X. It is very important to share the knowledge between different data spaces that have been created. We are developing a very strong ecosystem in the European cloud data infrastructure. So these are projects of common European interest. Another project we have IPSE for microelectronics. We know that now we are lacking of chips and semiconductors, and here all those industries that are were mentioned today. I used actually the expression converging, but I think Marina was using cross-fertilizing. And this is also the very appropriate term. So there are many activities that Slovenia is active in, and I hope that also this panel will help to strengthen the cooperation even in certain type of advanced technologies. Thank you.
Many thanks. There was a lot of input, and I now would really, the last 15 minutes, go over to three topics. One is regarding ecosystem SME support, and we have a very good overview what is ongoing. But maybe and then I have a second topic. I think it's needed to discuss this because when we were speaking about, and Stephanie mentions this about disruption, there was also discussion how we are handling this with the existing environment of workers, because disruption sometimes can mean also lay off people or something else. And the third topic is, I think, Marina and we both maybe have to address we have a huge basket of initiative which we heard. How we structure this. But maybe, Tero, to use the question regarding when you are some kind, and also to Stephanie, you started some business, you set it some up. What was really the topic which are helping you? What are the levers to get this scaling up? Or you're saying, come on, this was nice, but not does help us. How we can address this SMEs, startup scaling up issues?
Yeah, it's an excellent question, but I would raise a couple of key points that we need to address in Europe. One is, of course, the access to talent. And I think our experience is that also many startups and scale-ups are experiencing that the migration rules doesn't work. You don't get experienced talent. Work permits are hard to get, and it's difficult to move people across the borders, despite of all the, especially if they are coming outside of Europe. And we need to make sure that we highly talented people get to Europe and they get to work. The second one is access to data. If we are talking about AI, the data is everything. And there, of course, the encouraging the data sharing between big and small corporations. Gaia X is a good initiative in this respect. So I think that's definitely a one key element. Then access to capital, it's crucial for success. We have seen that especially US and China are putting unprecedented levels of capital into scale-ups, and Europe has been lagging behind. I think we have fixed quite a lot of the early stage financing, but the scale-ups need financing, and I think also the European different support programs, grants, loans, and equity are critical. There, I would highlight that we need to make the process smoother. It's important that decisions are made fast. I think the market moves fast, and we cannot wait. The process needs to be smooth. And then reporting, even though public financing always needs to go with reporting structures, but we need to make it simpler than it is today. It's too hard for many companies. And then the last point I would like to make is the predictability in the business environment. Mm-hmm. I think regulations are changing and they need to change, but we need to support predictability because businesses need to plan their operations. And if we change too drastically, and also in Europe, we haven't been the best in implementing EU level regulation in the member states in a equal manner, but we have too much variation, which is fragmenting the market. Yeah, okay. So those 4 points I would like to raise. Thank you.
Many thanks, and maybe a short to Stephanie. What is, have spoken also about hubs. Was it helpful for you to create a Now Center, because you're also CEO of this Now Center, providing you some outreach also regarding the ecosystem, or what are your thoughts about this?
Well, the Now Center exists since 20 years, so this is not a new thing. But we are engaging in these digital innovation hubs, the national ones as well as now the European ones. I think the instrument is being interpreted on different levels in a different way. So I think there are still improvements to be done, and specifically, I think these need to be linked into all these other additional initiatives. So we need, for example, to link the European data spaces with those digital innovation hubs or European digital innovation hubs, because I think this is where the data will come out, and where we somehow need to provide this link. I'm not sure if this is all. I haven't really found a good explanation on how this is intended to work. What I see we work with a lot of SMEs, also with some larger companies, but a lot of SMEs, and there it takes a very long time for the top management to understand the opportunities which these technologies bring, and then really the effect mostly is that some processes are made faster, better, higher quality or whatever, but they are not disruptive. Mm-hmm. So therefore, after being the CEO there for 10 years now, I decided we need to move into the startup business, because I don't see how we can do this needed disruption within the existing companies. And this is why we set up our Spinoff Factory, which is a process partly within the center itself, which kind of prepares technologies to be spun off. And on the other hand, it's also outside the center by having a company builder, which is specifically oriented towards those data-driven and AI-driven startups, which we want to produce. And one really difficult thing which happens there is in this transition, the university, as well as the center, as well as the other companies who might have had once a good idea, which might have flown into this IPR, they need to let go, at least partially, of this new plant, the startup or the spin-off. And this is something which we experience as a very difficult endeavor. And I think we need to improve the governance there and the structures which would really enable us to do this quicker and better.
Okay, many thanks. I think what I just thought, I mentioned before the platform ecosystems where you also have to change a little bit the rules, where you have to open up something, where you have a partner approach, where you have to get something go because you achieve more when you get something go. I want to touch a second topic, and now maybe disruption. I got an intervention out of the topics that disruption hopefully often can lead, hopefully wrong, can lead to, let's say, to a not so nice future environment of workers and so on. Maybe Ivo, I think, just remember it in what are the thoughts from the Commission. I can add some topic which we, for example, added in German platform industry to follow, at least to have some kind of covering this thoughts or topics.
Yeah, two thoughts on that. I will be brief. Now, first of all, one thing I would like to stress is that we have a plan. We have a plan for data and we have a plan for AI, where actually legislation and funding go hand in hand to make things happen. And one very important part of the plan is that we do data, we do AI in line with European values, actually to make sure that people accept what is happening, because I've got the feeling that sometimes technology is going faster than what people actually can cope with in general. And that's why it's so important that we stick to European values. And in that sense, Europe is completely open for business, but things have to be done in line with our values. That's important. Now, just a last point, I would like to react to something that what Tero said about simplifying the programs. It's not just about what we do, but also how we do it. And that really is an important point of interest. And things are changing also with lump sum funding and other means to make things easier actually to apply to our programs.
Mm-hmm. And maybe to add on this, European values, you're right. You have also this topics which are describing in your programs, only because with Industry 4.0, and I'm just answering this question of the chat, disruption, when you're speaking about Industry 4.0, and Marina mentioned, for example, the topic of flexibility and so on. For sure, simplicity, I remember we set up, for example, with a trade union, some kind of dialogue with the society to get at least not from the companies, we are driven to make it efficient, but also from the society, what we have to take care for this. And this is what set up. This was with the trade union. They have spoken about what is the future environment of workers in the Industry 4.0 area. So we addressed this openly, and the interesting part was really they feed it back to us, to the industry people, which was good. Maybe I want to touch the last topic a little bit, because a lot addressed, and many thanks also to Tero, and many thanks also to Stephanie and Ivo. Maybe one topic regarding ecosystem. You know how the alliances can work better together. Regional one or topic one. And I have seen smiling regarding. Sorry, Ivo, I have to say. Marina was also smiling regarding the reporting where we have how we can do this. But thanks for giving us an answer. But what can we do? Because Marina is heading an organization. I'm heading an organization, an initiative, you know, an European. What is the wish to you? What we have to do? You know, you have a lot of golden nuggets distributed around Europe. I phrase it in this way, but we are struggling a little bit to get it together. So to Alex, to you for sure. Whoever wants to answer. So
I will be very, very short. Just to say again that, as I said, we have a very strong couple of these micro ecosystems which we should encourage. It's not actually the problem of financing. It's not the problem about the money. I think that also SMEs, the companies, quite enough resources to go with these ideas and with these processes. But the problem is how to connect them with those who understand the digital transformations, with the opportunities that are lying on the market. And in this respect, I would again very encourage the initiative that combining companies on the European level is the right direction, if you ask me. We have one, for instance, a program of Eureka, which is incredible, very successful, and we should do something like this, or just to add some more on the digital transformation. Again, getting the knowledge from one part of the Europe with the another, or forming together the new solutions, and then helping, of course, to get also in the third markets. Just a case from Slovenia, or we have this digital information hub. The guys there are responsible. They can help. They find the SME, small companies. They learn them how to get these basic tools for digital transformations, how to find then the biggest companies and so on. So this is, by my standards, the one of the recipe how to be successful. Let's work in the connecting businesses, of course, with the research institutions, with all the good practice also from the on the European level. And the Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Slovenia is, of course, interested, and we will help, and we want to be part of this because we know that this is the only way that we can be successful.
Perfect. So many thanks, Marina. At least we have some homework and some hints we got. Let's phrase it in this way. And I see our moderator coming up and looking at the timing. And I would also not doing more than many thanks. I think we get a fruitful discussion. We get a lot of input. At least I have to tell this, but also a lot of homework. But it's good for us. Thanks a lot.
Yes, thank you to all our panelists, and thank you, everybody. Yeah, bye. It was really very, very interesting listening to you. Thomas, well done. And you did it on time. Next time we should present the Eurovision Song Contest together.
Oh my God.
Another big international event.
But you know, Germany is into the European Song Contest always a little bit on the button. I will keep this tradition when I'm
Okay, we keep the 12 points for next time. Okay, so it's just my task now to announce a short break, and I will see you in a couple of minutes for the iSpaces ceremony, a very special ceremony. Let's say we have a 5 minutes break that our team prepares everything for the ceremony, and I see you soon.